Knightmare, known as Troymare, Toroimea, in the OCG, is an archetype that debuted in Flames of Destruction. The archetype is related to, and supported by, the World Legacy archetype and is focused on link summons and being co-linked. All of the archetype's link monsters so far are Fiend. The Knightmare link monsters have different attributes, and the ones with the 4 elemental attributes have a color scheme that corresponds to that attribute. Their bodies, which appear to be derived from the Mech Knight monsters, are comprised of a combination of a glowing translucent substance and silvery metallic armor with a gold and black design etched into them. Parts of their armoring and bodies also appear to be made out of charred or blackened junk, mostly weapons. Finally, each one carries a symbol of musical notation somewhere on their body, usually their head. Troymare appears to be played on the word Troy and mare, female horse. Both are likely referred to Trojan horse, given the main strategy of Ibli, who is a female monster, fitting mare part, by giving her to the opponent and punish them, while Knightmare is played on the word nightmare and mare, with a further connection to the Mech Knight archetype. The names of Knightmare monsters are based on mythological creatures and beings. The main goal of this archetype is to build a field with as many co-linked monsters as possible, to the point of achieving a state of extra link. All the Knightmare link monsters revealed so far have effects that activate when they are link summoned, by discarding one card as cost, and if they were co-linked when those effects were activated, draw one card as a bonus. Also, they have continuous effects that either benefit monsters that are co-linked or burden monsters that are not. Since they do not require link materials of specific type, S, or attribute, S, any engine capable of swarming the field with monsters with different names may help link summon them. Monsters that are already used in link-oriented strategies, such as Cyber's Gadget, Dotscaper, Stack Reviver and Bitrooper can be helpful. Due to their first effect requiring a discard as a cost, they may have synergy with fabled monsters. Also, they tend to allow the player to control the field by achieving an extra link and disabling the opponent from special summon monsters from the extra deck. This goal can be further deepened by special summoning Knightmare Corruptor Ibli to the opponent's field and preventing the opponent from disrupting the Knightmare player's strategy by special summoning a kaiju monster, for example. The Link 2 Knightmare monsters were designed to provide a blanket protection to their peers, while the Link 3 Knightmare Unicorn compensates the huge investment required to build a field with at least 3 co-linked Knightmares, and the Link 4 Griffin penalizes special summoned monsters that are not linked, commonly the opponents. Its effect can be useful against monsters that can bypass the continuous effects of the Link 2 Knightmares, such as Shino Baron Peacock, Metaphysical Deadless, etc. Crowned by the World Chalice. With her magical staff, she can channel the living heart of her world to shield her people from the Mech Knights that have overrun it. Seeing as how you can easily gather 3 of these in the grave with Unexpected Die, World Legacy, World Chalice and Painful Decision, you can easily run X3 Tri-White in the deck, for devastating plays. Knightmare Corruptor Ibli. When this card is normal summoned, you can target one link monster in your GY, special summon it to your field so it points to this card, but change its ATK to 0, also negate its effects. You cannot special summon monsters, except link monsters. If this card in its owner's control is sent to the GY, you can special summon this card to your opponent's field in defense position. You can only use this effect of Knightmare Corruptor Ibli once per turn. Knightmare Corruptor Ibli can easily bring out any Code Talker monsters in an instant, Honeybot, Underclock Taker, etc., with the exception of Power Code Talker since it requires specifically 3 monsters. Summon any Link 2 Cyberse monster from the graveyard with this card, then summon Shooting Code Talker to summon Ibli to your opponent's side. That Shooting Code Talker is pointing to gain an additional attack as well as drawing an extra card. If this card is used to summon Decode Talker, you can special summon this card with its own effect to a zone Decode Talker is pointing to, increasing its attack to 2800. Lee the World Chalice Fairy. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can add one World Chalice monster from your deck to your hand. If this card is in your GY, you can send one monster from your hand or field to the GY, add this card to your hand. You can only use each effect of Lee the World Chalice Fairy once per turn. World Legacy, World Lance. Monsters your opponent controls cannot attack World Legacy monsters you control, except this one. You can only use each of the following effects of World Legacy, World Lance once per turn. During damage calculation, if a link monster battles a monster, quick effect you can discard this card, the opponent's battling monster loses 3000 ATK. If a monster, S, is special summoned from the extra deck, special summon 1 World Legacy token, machine/dark/level 1/ATK 0/def 0, to both players' fields in defense position. IB the World Chalice Priestess. 2 monsters with different types and attributes. This linked card cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. Your opponent cannot target this linked card with card effects. If a monster, S, this card points to would be destroyed by a card effect, you can send this card to the GY instead. If this card is sent from the field to the GY, you can special summon 1 World Chalice monster from your hand. You can summon 2 copies of this card next to each other to make an impenetrable wall that cannot be targeted by card effects, or destroyed battle or card effects. Knightmare Cerberus. 2 monsters with different names. If this card is link summoned, you can discard 1 card, then target 1 special summoned monster in your opponent's main monster zone, destroy it, then, if this card was co-linked when this effect was activated, you can draw 1 card. You can only use this effect of Knightmare Cerberus once per turn. Co-linked monsters you control cannot be destroyed by card effects. If the opponent controls a topologic bomber dragon is in the right extra monster zone, on this card's controller's perspective, this card can be link summoned to the main monster zone that topologic bomber dragon is pointing to, so that it won't be destroyed by its effect, since both monsters will be co-linked. This way, it is possible to safely special summon a sequence of co-linked Knightmare monsters and make the effect of topologic backfire and affect only the opponent's main monster zones. The same is valid for Flash Charge Dragon, provided this card is summoned to the main monster zone its top arrow is pointing to, so that both monsters become co-linked. Knightmare Goblin. 2 monsters with different names. If this card is link summoned, you can discard 1 card. If this card was co-linked when this effect was activated, you can draw 1 card. Also, during your main phase this turn, you can normal summon 1 monster from your hand to your zone this card points to, in addition to your normal summon/set. You can only use this effect of Knightmare Goblin once per turn. Neither player can target your co-linked monsters with card effects. Knightmare Griffin. 2+ monsters with different names. If this card is link summoned, you can discard 1 card, then target 1 spell/trap in your GY, set it to your field, but it cannot be activated this turn. Then, if this card was co-linked when this effect was activated, you can draw 1 card. You can only use this effect of Knightmare Griffin once per turn. Special summoned monsters on the field cannot activate their effects, unless they are linked. Knightmare Mermaid. 1 Knightmare monster, except Knightmare Mermaid. If this card is link summoned, you can discard 1 card, special summon 1 Knightmare monster from your deck, then if this card was co-linked when this effect was activated, you can draw 1 card. You can only use this effect of Knightmare Mermaid once per turn. Monsters on the field lose 1000 ATK/def, unless they are co-linked. Knightmare Phoenix. 2 monsters with different names. If this card is link summoned, you can discard 1 card, then target 1 spell/trap your opponent controls, destroy it, then, if this card was co-linked when this effect was activated, you can draw 1 card. You can only use this effect of Knightmare Phoenix once per turn. Co-linked monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle. Knightmare Unicorn. 2+ monsters with different names. If this card is link summoned, you can discard 1 card, then target 1 card on the field, return it into the deck. Then, if this card was co-linked when this effect was activated, you can draw one card. You can only use this effect of Knightmare Unicorn once per turn. While any co-linked Knightmare monsters is on the field, for your normal draw during your draw phase, draw one card for each different card name among those co-linked Knightmare monsters, instead of drawing just one card. World Legacy's Knightmare. You take no battle damage from attacks involving your co-linked monsters. Once per turn, you can activate one of these effects. Move one Knightmare monster you control to another of your main monster zones. Switch the locations of two Knightmare monsters in your main monster zones. World Legacy Struggle. Target spells/traps on the field, up to the number of co-linked monsters on the field, destroy them. Weaknesses. The most basic weakness of the deck is the need for a discard as a cost to activate the link monster's trigger effect. Without the proper setup, this may have the player running out of resources before they can build a solid field. The fabled engine may alleviate this, though. Due to the need of special summoning many monsters on the field in order to achieve an extra link, or at least having 3 or 4 Knightmare monsters co-linked to each other, the deck may have disadvantage with cards like Summon Limit, Max C, Vanity's Fiend, etc. Also, the Knightmare player must control many monsters at once for the strategy to work at its full potential, which may render the deck vulnerable to mass removal cards, especially evenly matched, that ignores all blanket protections provided by the Knightmare co-linked monsters, as it neither targets nor destroys. Even if Knightmare Iblis is on the opponent's field, preventing a kaiju monster from disrupting the string of co-linked monsters, the Winged Dragon of RA, Sphere mode can make a much more huge impact, by removing 3 of them at once.